Hi, everybody. It's Bob Ost. It's Friday. It's January 10th. It's our second community gathering of 2025. Happy New Year, everybody. Um, it's also our 245th consecutive uh, community gathering conversation that we've been having since April 17th, 2020. Originally, we started doing this for those of you who don't know us, and hopefully since we have on sometimes we've gotten as many as 1,000 to 5,000 views on YouTube. I'm assuming there are people out there who find us who don't know who we are. So for the 999 people out there who don't know who we are, I'm Bob Ost. I'm the executive director and founder. TRU is an organization that I created 32 years ago. I was and am a playwright and writer, and I was frustrated about not getting produced. And I decided that the way to get produced was to network and meet producers. Um, Boy, was I naive. Anyway, I started hanging out with theater companies and trying to get to be friends with them and see if they would produce me. And what I found out instead was they were having a harder time producing than I was having a hard time writing plays. Producing is brutally difficult for those of you who don't know. And so I said to a couple people, do you want to come to my apartment and meet each other and maybe find ways to help each other produce? And they all said yes, and a couple people said, can I invite people? And 30 people showed up at my apartment. I'm glad I had a big enough apartment. So I listened to everybody talking about how much trouble they were having, how difficult it was producing. And I realized that there was something very healthy about having everybody in this room with me, talking to each other, meeting each other. And I, without realizing it, made a life choice because at the end of the evening, I said, if you'd like to do this again, raise your hand. And 30 hands went up immediately. And I went, oh dear, what have I just committed myself to? So I committed myself to 32 years of running true is what I did. And it's basically originally I didn't think I really knew much about theater. I knew as little as everybody else, and I thought it was an opportunity to bring in people who knew more than I did. So we started bringing in guests every month, and we grew and we've become uh, well as a result of COVID. Remember COVID? How can you forget COVID, right? Um, we had a turnaround in 2020, as did everybody. Uh, I realized that because we were in isolation, I had to find a way to run my programs um, not in person, and I didn't want to learn virtual. I didn't want to get to know Zoom. But somebody finally twisted my arm, and I put together a Zoom room, and we've been doing this ever since. We've been having conversations about theater and the arts. It's not always strictly been theater. It's been a little bit broader than that. But the other thing that was interesting was I was this little not-for-profit service organization that was born in my living room, and people were saying, "Go on Zoom and you'll become global." I said, "Don't be ridiculous. How am I going to become global?" So I opened up the Zoom room, and much to my amazement, people found us from all over the country and all over the world. And even today, I've got people who definitely a lot of people from outside New York. Sometimes we actually have a little group from Australia that comes in, and Germany and UK. It's crazy. So we're now by default we're global. So that's who you found. You found True. And what we do is we try to train people in the business of theater and help them understand and navigate the business realistically. So I'm always looking for interesting theater companies, not just in New York, but all around the country. I really I really am fascinated by how many different ways there are to make theater uh, in this world. And I was made aware of a company called the Farm Arts Collective. Uh, I was made aware of for a couple of reasons. One of them, a member of True is a member of the organization, and another member of the Farm Collective is actually our fundraising and development person. So how could I not ask the Farm Arts Collective to come in and talk to us and tell us about what they do? So I'm going to bring on my guests. Let's see. So this is Tannis Kowalchuk.
Yep.
Did I sound it right? So Jess
Yep.
Beveridge. And I'm also going to bring in Melissa Bell, who is a playwright and a member of TRU and also a member of Farm Arts Collective. And I'm going to bring myself back in so you can see me too. So, hi, Tannis, Jess, and Melissa. Welcome to TRU. I'm happy to have you with us. Do you know that this is the 245th consecutive one of these? So you have to really know how hard it is for me to come up with new things. So I'm so grateful to be able to bring you on because you are the first person, the first people in 4.5 years that I have who actually have a farm arts collective, have a farm collective that actually can combine the arts and agriculture. Um, why did you do this, Tanis? Why did you do this to yourself? And how many years ago did you start doing it?
Great. Okay. I want to kind of roll. I want to circle back to producing.
Okay.
We started talking, opening this session about producing and that producing is so difficult and that you started TRU because you were trying to figure out how to produce and help your community produce as an artist, as a playwright in your case. And my story is exactly the same. I have, since I graduated from the University of Winnipeg in Canada as a performance major and trying to audition and getting my equity card and getting into the regional mainstream theaters of Canada, I got very frustrated because my opportunities were small as a young female in the prairies of Canada. So I was like, no, I want to find opportunities where I can make my own work and engage in people who are self-producing. And that has been my trajectory since the age of 24. I was part of an ensemble in Canada called Primus that was doing very innovative work, always self-producing, always traveling and finding connections to perform. Moved to New York City, started a company called NACL, moved up here to Sullivan County, New York, and operated an artist residence and again, self-producing and supporting others who are
I
making
just want
work.
to jump in for a second. I got to tell you, I'm so happy to hear you talk so fluently about self-producing because for many, many years, it was people were not acknowledging the fact that one of the mainstream of producing in New York was self-producing, and I figured that out pretty quickly, having done it myself. And so we always talk about self-producing artists, and we always refer to them as spa because producing yourself is so incredibly relaxing. So,
That's cute. Yes.
so
The story of moving to the farm is personally, I married a farmer when I was running an artist residence up here in Sullivan County at NACL. And I just started farming with him. We bought a farm and I had to learn to farm to help cover the rent at home. And loved it. Got really engaged in the politics of farming, in agriculture, and the climate change fight up here, in the anti-fracking fight up here. I got really engaged in that. And so all of that for me, the theater, the independent theater work, the political theater work I was doing, the farming work I was doing, the community engagement practice I became very interested in here all came together and it was like, let's do this on a farm. Everyone wants to come to a farm. I don't have to fight. I don't have to beg people to come to my farm for a show or for a farm tour or for a meal. People want to come here and I do not have the same experience in small independent dark theaters that people might feel a little uncomfortable. Us rural folk here, not everyone's comfortable going to a theater, truly. So I was like, people want to go there. So bring them to the farm, hit them with the theater, grab them with the theater. It's a trap. I'm being a little facetious and joking about it, but it's a very magnetic place that is just like really connected to the community. And I have drawn an amazing circle of collaborators like Melissa here, like Jess, like another 18, 20 people, more than that actually,
Mhm.
right?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yes, many,
Who
many
are
collaborators.
here, who live here or who are coming back and forth from the city to here, who some are in Japan, whatever. But it's like we're all here. We all keep coming back here, or we live here. And
So
so we're working
although
together.
it all seems like it's very intuitive for you, for some of us it's not. It's a little counterintuitive. Come to the farm and see a show. I mean, unless we're referring to Mickey and Judy, I mean, we basically. I'm just amazed that you do what you do. It just sounds so incredible. So you actually serve a community. You specifically serve a community that is not necessarily a theater community.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, we find that being on the farm, like Tannis says, it's such a beautiful piece of land, and it's so magnetic that we find that there's such cross-pollination where people that would normally want to come to a farm for sure maybe might not want to go and sit down and see a piece of theater, but they come to the farm and then they see the theater and then they keep just coming back either for workshops or for other events because they see what we do here. And then on the other side of it, theater people might not feel so comfortable to go onto a farm, but they do because it's theater. And then they're out there doing a farm tour and they're learning about all of these different things and eating the farm fresh food. So it's pretty cool to see like the cross pollination of the two kinds of people that many kinds of people that come here. It's very interesting.
But
So this is brunch, breakfast, lunch, and dinner theater.
that's
Well, we always try to do
we
serve some
actually always serve food.
farm fresh food at our workshops and events. Yeah.
But I want to say we have developed an ensemble of artists here. Like
Mhm.
there are people many people moved here after COVID.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
they moved out of New York City. Not everyone stayed, but a lot of them are here. There's a real kind of culture here that's developed since I've lived here like 20 years or so. And there's an absolute culture here. So there are people who want to come to the theater and having the theater on the farm. We now have our own theater space. We built one last year. We are in the middle of a capital campaign. We have an actual theater that we built because this community supported us to do so. It's a beautiful space.
Oh, that's amazing. It's
Yeah.
so incredible. So Melissa, well, actually, I want a little bit more context. Did you say when you first started this tennis?
Our first performance on the farm was in 2019. But prior to that,
Just before
Yes,
COVID.
yes,
yeah.
yes. That was our
Yes.
And but because we were on a farm, we kept our season going every year. We had an outdoor performance. We never stopped working. We never stopped working. We worked outside the whole time.
The rest of us are like struggling to adapt to doing
Yeah.
theater outside, and it was like this is where you live.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yep.
So we didn't stop, and that was very helpful for us.
That's
That
amazing
helped
too.
buoy us up. And because we were one of the few things people could come to. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I
Wow.
don't know if you remember, Bob, but I was always telling people I'm doing a show. I'd be on TRU here with everybody. And people say, Melissa, how are you doing a show? And I'm like, well, I'm working with this community up in the Catskills by the Delaware River, and we're doing it outside on a farm. And I've been telling everybody every year since then about Farm Arts Collective and the work that we do up here. Yeah.
Matthew, did you want to ask a question?
Yeah, real quick before you get so into it, what all are you producing on the farm?
You mean produce, vegetable produce?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. We have a 25-acre organic vegetable farm called Willow Wisp Organic Farm. It's my husband and I own it. My husband is an exceptional farmer. He's been farming in this area for 20 years too, like as long as I've been here. And we sell at Union Square and we sell at Grand Army Plaza. We have 25 acres in vegetable, herb, and flower production.
And they have an incredible flower production. They have a huge field of absolutely beautiful flowers and Tannis and Jess are the flower arrangers, and they do flower workshops. And oh my gosh, if you go to Union Square and see these incredible bouquets, that's theirs.
Thanks, Melissa.
Put into context where the art is being created.
Say that again, Matthew?
Oh, just to put into context where the art is being created.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we had worked out of a greenhouse that was dedicated to Farm Arts Collective. So we had our own theater space, but it was a space that we could use only in the evenings because it would be too hot in there during the days in the summer, and then it wasn't heated. So we had a very short window to be able to have some space to work. So we were always working in other buildings in our area. There's a long list. I don't have to go into it, but we were, kind of homeless for 8 months out of the year. So having this new barn that we erected that serves both our farm and Farm Arts Collective has been the big game changer for us to have a permanent space.
How do you figure out how to divide your time? It seems like there's so many different things you're doing.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I woke up at 3 a.m. last night.
I went to
And I was
sleep at
like,
3 a.m.
and I was like, my brain was going and going, and I was like, don't fight it, don't fight this, just like enjoy this, because I was really having amazing thoughts last night. It doesn't always happen, but I was having great thoughts last night, and it's just like, trying to get 6 hours of sleep is good. Like if we can get 6 hours of sleep, we're good.
I mean,
That's my
obviously,
goal. That's my goal too.
We also have a schedule that we work on Thursdays. Every Thursday is Farm Arts Collective. And we're beginning next Thursday with Tannis introducing everybody and with her idea for the year. And then we will do some training, which Tannis leads. And first, sometimes for a long time, it involved learning to stilt walk. People were doing stilt walking, and then movement. And then we're doing clowning workshops, like different workshops that will help us through the year to perform and to learn to perform as a group and to learn to sort of fill the stage and improvise. And then we start our process of devising the piece. And then we work every Thursday. As we get closer to performance date, we start to do Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then we start to, then we have a tech sessions.
So there's
kind of the way
some
we
sort
do
of form. You have some sort
Yeah.
of form
Oh
and
yeah,
schedule.
oh yeah. We have a huge schedule.
Absolutely, we do. Yeah.
We have an intensive schedule
I
where
can't imagine.
Oh yeah. No, it's not free for all.
No,
Like,
no.
let's
No,
just,
we have a
dance
schedule.
around in the fields. No.
Wouldn't that be lovely? No. We have a schedule. Yeah, for sure.
We're very organized.
Yeah, and it helps that, Tannis and I we call ourselves farmers because we are flower farmers and we work on the farm. And it's great that we're in the same place, right? We work the fields, we work the land, and then we also make art on the land in the same area. So we're always immersed in it. We're always here, which is really great.
But we're not farming right now, and we have
So this is our time to do all these things.
I stopped farming in November, December, January, February, March. There's not a lot of farming. So now I'm only fundraising and programming my season. Aside from Dream on the Farm, we present work. We have 3 shows touring right now that are in repertoire. We have a children's theater performance. We have my solo performance. We're working on another piece called Lucy Joseph, and we have Dream on the Farm. We do special events. We have a solo theater festival. We do a Juneteenth annual celebration. We do a science cabaret with scientists from the Mount Sinai and local artists who do like an evening, a parallel evening of neuroscience stuff. We do
Neuroscience.
Neuroscience.
Sure,
and
farming and neuroscience, of course.
It's a very packed and diverse and interdisciplinary kind of collective that we have. It's a collective.
But tell them how we got into neuroscience because of Allison. She was your intern. I mean, she was a member.
I know. Let's go back to 2019.
Okay.
Had you already collected your followers, your
Yes,
people?
I think I had a good group of followers from that play Courage from the Brecht. I was working
And
with
the Brecht
Krista.
was before 2019. That was before the Farm Arts Collective was born.
Correct. It was when we were NACL, when I was working with NACL. I had made in 2012 a big climate change play called Dream on the Farm. I'm sorry, called
Project.
The Weather Project. And I worked with like over 100 members of the community, and that really grabbed my focus to say, this is important to make work with the people where I live, as opposed to bringing in artists from New York City to perform in my theater. I realized that the energy, 700 people came. I didn't know there were 700 people in my area, and they came to my show. It was insane. And so there was like this the penny drop for me that my job was to work with the people where I live. It became clear. So then the next project was the Brecht Courage. And we had a cast of stilt walkers, and we had a cast of we had a group of singers, chorus, and we had a team of writers. Melissa was one of them. We had the actors, and we devised together over the course of a year, or we actually spent 2 years on this project. We ended up performing it at Governor's Island, as well as a local
Oh,
farm up here.
Mhm.
And I just developed this group of people, and we learned how to devise together. And I taught my form of physical theater training and creating
well, let's
songs.
talk about that. Let's talk about your background and
Oh,
because
okay.
I know that you call it devised theater. You
Yeah.
sort of that's the broad top umbrella. So tell us a little bit about devised theater and what your background is.
Sure. I guess if I say the name Grotowski, a lot of people in this group will know Grotowski.
Absolutely.
So my
I
teacher,
actually had a guest. I had a guest from Poland on like about half a year ago who was at the Grotowski's theater. He is taking over the Grotowski brand.
who? Who did you have?
Norbert. What's Norbert's last name? Oh my goodness.
I'll look
Um,
for him. Is he in
yeah.
Pontedera,
He no.
Italy,
He's
or in
uh,
Poland?
no. He's in Poland. He's
Poland.
located in Poland. This was
Okay.
he's works. He's the artistic director of a theater that was Grotowski's theater at one point, and he tries to carry on. What is his last name? Norbert Rakovsky.
It's like Kowalchuk. It's the same. It's like my
Yeah. It's right. Give me a second. I'm gonna actually find it for
Robert
you.
Grotowski.
But you get to keep talking about your about devised
okay.
theater.
So I was able to join a theater company that was led by a member of the Odin Teatret in Denmark. Eugenio Barba was a student of Grotowski, started a company in Denmark that's very famous all around the world. And my director teacher started a Canadian version of this kind of work in Canada called Primus. And so I trained every day for 7 years. It was super intense, hardcore physical work, hardcore vocal work, and always emerging from the actor. The way Grotowski would work with his actors to write a play, that's what I do with my actors and my writers and my singers. We work together to write the play. The play is not just the text. We don't start with the text. The text emerges once we all start working together around the idea that I propose. So this year, I'm proposing the concept to my team this Thursday, and it's called Paradise Lost Scavenger Hunt. And so we're taking Milton's Paradise Lost, and we're exploring climate change through a scavenger hunt, and the story of Adam and Eve who eat from the tree of knowledge, and then have to take this responsibility, this knowledge, and go out into the world. And I'm proposing this as a structure and a way of looking at climate change and our actions in the world. So now I'm going to try to work with about 30 people on this for the next year in my
And
community.
and just for the record, it was Norbert Rakovsky, and it's
Rokovsky.
Rakovsky.
Rokovsky. Okay.
And what happened? I lost it. Here it is. His theater, just in case you not wanted to know, is J.K. Opole Theater, JKOPOLE Theater in Poland. So,
Thank you.
uh, so Melissa,
Yeah.
you met when you did Courage. That's how you met. Jess, you
Yeah.
also met at Courage, or that's where everybody met you.
Pretty
Um,
much, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I started working with Tannis when she was still with NACL, and I auditioned for one of her pieces, and she hired me, and I've been working with her ever since. So yes, I followed her to Farm Arts Collective. Yeah. And I've worked with
um,
Melissa and 29th Street Playwrights for many years as well.
so you are an actress, I
Yes.
gather.
Yes.
How did you feel about making the transition into handling the money matters for a company?
Well, I am still grateful to keep acting with this company, which is really great. So a lot of people in our company wear many hats, as does Tannis and I. And I'm an actor and a technical person and the company manager and an organizer and all of those things. So we kind of all wear a bunch of different hats in this company, but I still get to act many times, which is really great. I'm working on a project, Lucy Joseph, that Tannis mentioned as well. And today we did a show called Alice in Science Land that we bring to schools that we're touring around. So I still do get to feed that little actor bug inside of me. But it's also great to be an organizer and keep things in line and moving.
Alice in Science Land, I think, is a great concept.
Thanks. It's fun. It's a great show. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
We had
So
400 kids
400
watching us
kids. Yeah,
today.
it was really great.
400.
It's so rewarding. And like the kids, we ask questions at the end and they really get something out of it, which is really wonderful. So it's fun to perform for the kiddos.
And it's very
so
climate change
Yes.
themed.
Yeah.
And
Edutainment.
I spoke to the principal after the presentation today, because where we live now, we're doing climate change themed plays, we're doing social justice plays, we're doing a Juneteenth celebration, we're doing a lot of work where in a staunchly Republican community, some of this is just like it doesn't necessarily flow into the culture as easily when you're talking about climate change or social
that's what I was
justice,
thinking. I was wondering
justice,
about that.
And so it's like that's part of our environment as well. Like, don't forget where we are. We're in a rural, I think 75% of our neighbors are going to be voting for Trump recently. And so that's the context where we are. But I asked the teacher, I was like, what do you think? Like, do you think like this is political for you? Like, do you feel uncomfortable us talking about this with your students? I said, because some people still feel climate change can be very political. And she said, yeah, I thought that while I was watching, but she said, I really want you to keep doing this. You have to try to keep doing this.
So
So
this is the miracle. This is the miracle of art. What would normally be a fight turns into an exchange. Just
yeah, it's
okay,
allowable.
yeah.
Right.
It's
Uh,
okay. It's allowable.
Mhm.
It's entertainment. It's educational when it does have a political undertone, but it's allowed somehow. And oh my gosh, I just thought, wow, we're really what we were saying today. These kids are maybe not hearing at home because
Right.
another news
no,
station's on, all the time.
this is incredible. Actually, I'm just stunned to hear this. Um, can you somehow or other package the air where you live and send it around the country?
Someone just asked a question and I just caught it. Do you have
Oh,
signifiers of climate change right on your
That's
farm?
a good question.
Yeah.
This past summer was really hard here. It was a struggle with the heat and it was just so hot. Yeah, yeah.
The climate is 100% changing. It's getting more wet and it's getting hotter. And that's what we're dealing with. And then sometimes it's drier, it's
Right.
really just extreme.
Right.
So this year there was like 3 weeks where we didn't have lettuce and radishes, which has never happened. Our cabbage was extremely dry. Although we irrigate, we usually get rain in the autumn. We didn't get it. I mean, this is normalish. I mean, stuff can happen like as farmers, but the farmer that's the oldest farmer in our area would never grow tomatoes. This is the best indicator of it. The oldest farmer in our area would never grow tomatoes when he first started farming 30 years ago. Now he can grow tomatoes, he says. And that's just the best indication that we're having a warmer spring and autumn consistently, that he can now grow tomatoes. So that's just like one like total sign. Someone could say, oh, there's always going to be tornadoes and hurricanes and yeah, there's more. There's definitely more. So
Well, I don't know what we can do about climate deniers because people believe what they believe,
Mhm.
and arguing with them is never going to change their mind. So maybe showing them some things in art through art, it does help. I'm praying that it does help. Um, so this is so you really are you are political.
yeah, yeah,
Let's get right down to it. I mean, it's your company has basic tenets, basic beliefs that just by default make you a political voice in the area, and yet it's a voice that seems to be welcome, and it's a voice that seems to be listened to. How do you do that?
again, there's a like, I guess we're incredibly inclusive. Like every person in my community is invited to come on Thursday night to hear what the plan is and to participate if they want to, and to talk and to share their thoughts and to share something. And I feel like that kind of revolving door of what's the word?
Inclusivity.
Inclusivity.
Thank you.
Yeah. Right.
Inclusivity is really it's like no one feels left out, and that can really spark some things where you feel like you're not included, you're not allowed in. Everyone can come and talk at this table that we have. And I think that's a big part of it.
And Tannis is just a very magnetic person, and people tend to really just love to be around you and want to keep coming back and value what you do and what you bring to this community. I think that's also a huge part of it.
So Tannis, do you ever have like alone time with your husband?
Oh my God.
Where is Greg? Where is he?
This is our 2 months. We have 2 months right now.
Right now.
This is it. Okay.
January, February.
Oh my God. I
And it's
can't
fun.
believe
We were watching TV last night. We watched like 4 episodes of Slow Horses, and we were like, "Oh my God, are we gonna watch another one?"
Oh, that's so great. That's such a great
Yeah.
show.
But Tannis and Greg also make such a great team because they're very like-minded in the way that it's like, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, but still doing the best work that they could possibly do with taking care of their employees and taking care of the land. So they kind of both have that work, 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 work mentality where they understand that. And I think that's why at least that from an outsiding point of view, I think that's why that works really well.
We'll have family dinner. We'll have family dinner like at least twice a week, even in the busiest times. So we fight for that. We fight for that. That's a good question.
So, RK wants to know, how does one get up to the farm?
Send you directions, RK. We're up near we're near Bethel Woods where the Woodstock concert happened. So we're up the thruway up to 17 West, and then you go on 17B as if you were going to the Woodstock concert. You go to the end and you cross the river, and there's the farm.
Is there a bus?
Yes, there is a bus. The bus will go to Monticello, New York, or a train will go to Port Jervis, New York. The closest PA town is Honesdale, and there's also a bus from Port Authority to Honesdale, I believe.
Yeah, and I think a bus comes up to Villa Roma too.
Oh yeah,
Oh, right, in the summertime.
And Jeffersonville.
Yeah.
So but it's kind of difficult to come here without a car. Like there's not really a direct.
It's tricky.
Yeah,
it's tricky.
Yeah, it's a little tricky. So so you really, but it's only 2 hours from the bridge. You can't say from New York, you have to say from the bridge.
From the bridge.
Sometimes you get to the bridge.
Right,
So it's 2 hours from the bridge, and it's actually a beautiful drive. If you come up Palisades Parkway, it's beautiful, as if you were going to Bear Mountain, and then you go across the mountain there. But it's a really fast drive. You can do it in one day. You can do a round trip, which is really fun. And like when we have performances, they're usually around 6 o'clock, 6:30, so that people go to bed early around here a lot because they're farmers. And but you know, you can make that round trip in one day. And we have a beautiful, cute little town here called, there's two really cute towns, Narrowsburg and Callicoon. And it's like a great day trip, really. So
So
keep it in mind.
step one for me would be to get a car.
Yeah, you can rent one. Hey, come on.
Okay.
You got a license, right?
Okay, no, I don't actually.
Oh,
I don't have a driver's license. Gary does the driving.
oh, neither does my son. It's really
So I want to
scary.
go back. I want to go back to the kind of work you do. You say it's devised. Is it only devised work? Are you ever interested in reading? I have a room full of writers, and they're all dying to ask you whether they can
Melissa,
send you a
Melissa,
script.
talk about it. Melissa will talk about
Yeah.
what we do. That's not just our devised work.
It's not just what the company does with our main stage is devised, but there are other times when people can present their work there. I brought Lady Capulet up to the farm, and we had a weekend there and performed Lady Capulet on the farm. It was a fabulous experience for everyone. My cast and crew said it was one of their best theatrical experiences. Um, and it was an outdoor performance, you know. And then other companies, yeah, can come up and they have come up and have performed. As a company, we don't necessarily take in something and read it, but we work together to build performances um and really like the company will start, you know, devising things. A lot of times I'll come up with something, Tannis will come up with something, and I'll kind of start it like, oh, like a, you know, lob the ball over the net, and then people can start to riff off of that. Or after a session when everybody has been writing, and we've been kind of talking about things, I can put that together or add things to it. If I feel there's not enough conflict, I'll often work with Tannis and the team to sort of say, like, come on, we need more conflict in here. So that's kind of the way it goes.
I just want to say, though, to answer your question about do you do other plays, maybe. We we now have a space, and I proposed to Melissa. I asked Melissa because I want to like try to figure out how to use our space well and how to give opportunity to my fellow artists. Is there a play, I asked Melissa, that you might be interested, that you've written, that you would be interested in having be presented at the farm? Now, if it was a total stranger who was making a proposal to me, I would probably say, well, you have to have your actors, you have to have your, idea of what you want your lights to look like. We can't necessarily get involved in that creative part, but we can help you present the work. And I worked at La Mama when I first moved to the United States, and I learned a lot from Ellen Stewart, and I would do a 50-50 model. That's what she did, right? And maybe they still do, I don't know, but 50% goes to the house, to in that case La Mama, and 50% of the box office went to the artists. And I love that model. I would use that model to move forward as a presenter of work that I thought would really work in our space and in our community.
Very specific question would be, can equity actors work in your space, or does equity just not have to know about it? Or I mean, it's
I mean,
people.
I don't work, I'm a member of Canadian Actors Equity on hold. I'm on like, I dismissed myself in a way, or I put myself on temporary leave because I started working in ensemble theater, and we never had that kind of hierarchical structure. And so now I have to look into that now that I have this space and we're talking about presenting. I don't know how it would work. It would be like the theater company coming in, if they had equity actors, they're the ones who would have to get the permit and the license. I'm
Right.
just the
You're just
presenter
the presenter. You
and
would
the
be the
venue.
presenter.
Like Here Arts Center, if you do a sublet series at Here Arts Center, they don't get you your license with your permits with equity. It's the
Right.
producers.
Well,
So
but also equity has some strictures in terms of where they will let their actors
yeah, I don't know.
perform.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
know.
oh,
That's a great question, though. Great question.
yeah, I think it's a situation of, I think if I think if an actor wanted to come out to the farm and just do something just as a like a vacation or something, I don't know whether equity could say no, you can't do that. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I know they have these certain rules, so, but a lot of times it involves bathrooms and dressing rooms. So
and
we have,
we have Susan
Yeah.
Crawford. We have Susan
we have
Crawford
that
here.
now.
I was going to say we have Susan Crawford in the room who will tell you an hour conversation about what equity requires when she was producing her show at Don't Tell Mamas. Um, so how do how would people become more involved in your company if they were interested, and if they had a driver's license?
Um, well, we present a solo theater festival. We started doing
Oh,
that last year.
Mhm.
I think I
So
need to ask you more questions and find out about more of your programs.
yeah, people should go on our website maybe, but I mean, we don't have anything on the solo festival for this coming
Not
year.
yet, no,
Yeah,
no, but
pretty
you can look
soon.
at our past
But
events,
look at our
yeah.
past events. So they should just write to me
Mhm.
and talk to me about what they're interested in. But being involved in Dream on the Farm, like I said, I'm presenting my idea this Thursday. I think there's possibility for some remote involvement this year because of the structure of it. So that's entirely possible.
Mhm.
I have a collaborator who is in New York City, who's worked with us in the past, who sometimes does remote writing for the production. We're having 2 months of special workshops because we always do professional development for our performing and creative community here. So in February and March, every Thursday night, we're doing workshops. And we also have fun farm workshops that anyone can
Mhm.
take. And,
Mhm.
just like learning, if you want to learn farming, you can also. Um, but
Well,
it's just a
Melissa, let me ask you, what workshops that were not necessarily theater related workshops have you taken
matter.
with?
Well, they have like they have certain farm oriented workshops like flower arranging, or they've had children coming. Sometimes they just have farm tours and they talk about the farm and things like that. But most of the things that I've done relate just with our collective, which is more theater. So we will do movement, we'll do some singing, we'll do some, things like that when on Thursdays.
I think,
But Saturdays, they often have like other workshops that are related to the farm.
but you
So
have
our
you have a whole schedule, and you probably
yeah.
print a piece that you distribute to people so that they can. There you
That's our
go.
last year's. Yeah, that's last year's. So
Yeah.
we're in the process of scheduling everything right now and putting stuff up on our website, and then we'll have a thing that we send out as well and put in racks and put in our community.
And that's our
And
new
an e-blast
building.
and all that
This
stuff.
is our new building.
It's a real building.
Yeah, it's a barn. It's a barn.
It is.
But our mission, I didn't say what our mission is. Our mission is to intersect four life-sustaining practices: farming, art, food, and ecology, to engage our community and build a healthier and more vibrant and more connected community. It's really about that. It's about like bettering this place through art and agriculture.
So your goal really is community focused. It's really to be you're servicing the area of who knew 700 people.
More than that
I
now.
know, but you said earlier that you had 700
Yeah.
people. You didn't even know there were 700 people in the
Yeah.
area. So
Yeah, no,
you get supported by the community. That's really impressive, and by a not necessarily art involved community. Um,
it's a mix of people who care about art and agriculture, honestly. I have to raise $250,000 to complete the capital campaign. And last year from January till December, I raised 131,000. And it was not big grants. It wasn't like I got a $50,000 grant. It's amazing. It's amazing
you
here.
raise a lot more money than we do, I'll tell you. Oh
Well,
boy.
I've never raised that kind of money before because I went out and I asked for it to foundations, and I've never done that kind of hardcore face-to-face combat with rich people. But I did it. I put my big girl pants on and I did it. It was definitely the hardest thing I've done in a long time. And I don't really want to keep doing it, but I guess I kind of have to now that I have the space. But yeah, it's like producing is hard, like you said, right? Like getting fundraising is really hard. But the people did come up with it after I asked. So
And the biggest truism there is that if you don't ask, you're not going to get.
it's true.
People tend to stop themselves from asking, and then they think they can't raise money. Well, of course you can't raise money if you're not willing to ask.
It's true. That's the best advice. You just have to ask.
Yeah.
And you get some no's and you feel kind of sad and you feel a little depressed. But then the next yes you get will put you back up on top of it. Feel better. Yeah.
So, did you ever think earlier in your career that you were going to be dealing with so much of the business side of the arts?
No, I said today I had my makeup on and I was going on stage and I was like, I just want to act. I just love acting. I said to Jess and to Ginny, I said, I love acting. This is so much fun. But no, but I have had to, I made the choice to leave regional theater. I could have been a great actress in Canada in regional theater. I was on my way, but I didn't have the patience. And now this is the price I'm paying for being more independent, that I have to take care of the money and I have to take care of the publicity and I have to take care of the funders and I have to take care of my people. I have to, and it's all right. I like this choice I made, but I didn't think it was going to be my
But it's
choice.
stressful making payroll.
Yeah.
Isn't it stressful making payroll?
Yeah.
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 My favorite thing to do. I haven't done it in a couple of years. Is go to the Shaw Festival. I love the Shaw Festival.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever been involved in the Shaw or the Stratford Festival? None of those. Have you
No.
ever involved in any of the Canadian fringes? Do you have any experience with
Oh
those?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah.
Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about some of those, some of the fringe
Oh well,
festivals.
the
Because
Winnipeg Fringe was my
we in the U.S. aren't really we don't know as much as we should know about the fringe festivals.
The first Fringe Festival in Canada was the Edmonton Fringe Festival, and it was like a direct modeling of Edinburgh. And that was our first Canadian Fringe. Winnipeg, which is where I grew up, started really as soon as I was graduating from university. So I was part of the early Winnipeg Fringe festivals. And there's a big fringe circuit now that has developed in Canada where you can literally travel in a direction along a timeline and go from Winnipeg to Saskatoon to Edmonton, maybe Calgary has one now, and into like Vancouver and Victoria, and you can do the whole fringe. And then the same thing going east. And I'm not as familiar with the east, but it's an affordable way of getting your workout into the public eye. And it's
Yeah.
a super supportive, very different from New York Fringe, which I've also done. And it's just much more
Are you talking about the New York Fringe that's closed or you because there still is a New York Fringe. It's
uh,
the Frigid Festival, not the who
I
is it?
mean the old
The
New York
people,
Fringe. I meant
the
the
old
old New
one.
York.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So very different, like much more just cohesive and everyone's seeing each other's work and there's like a beer hall. It's all about the beer hall. If you don't have a beer hall at a fringe festival, don't do it because then you're not connecting and that's what it's about.
Okay. Um, Owen, voice of God. Have we covered questions? Are there other questions that people have? I want to encourage everybody in the room. Please, please do ask and let us know what you want to know more about.
A
Um,
lot of logistical questions about location. RK's asking what is touring and where.
yeah, what do you have touring right now, or what do you plan to tour?
Sure. Right now in tour, we have a solo performance that I created 3 years ago called Decompositions. I wrote it and I perform in it. It's me on a compost pile talking about life and the compost process as a metaphor for living life and aging elegantly and with generosity towards yourself. And that's touring to New Orleans in March. It's maybe going to what's the girls' college, Wellesley College, potentially. I've been invited to a festival in Serbia in August, and
Where in Serbia?
it's Belgrade to the
Oh, Belgrade. Okay.
Neville Jazz and Theater Festival, International Festival.
Did
Yeah.
you know there's a Serbian Shakespeare festival?
Oh, I didn't know that. And then
Odd things.
Alice in Science Land is a children's theater performance that evolved from one of our Dream on the Farm plays that we created in 2021, which was actually featured in the New York Times. We sent you that link, Bob. I don't know if you were able to. We
I'll
sent
put
you
it in.
the, okay, yeah, put it in, Melissa. That's
Yeah.
great. That's great. So we had one of our dream plays. We kind of transformed into this journey of Alice in Science Land, who meets a microbe on a compost pile in the hydrosphere and the atmosphere, and learns
I
about
think
climate.
that's just brilliant. I think that's so smart.
So that's just on tour to local schools and little, environmental festivals, like places that care about the earth and education. Libraries. Those are the kind of gigs we get for that. So more regional touring. And then we're building Lucy Joseph,
I
and
want
that
to
could
I want to ask you about your touring. Do
yeah.
do you get booked? Do you reach out to them? Do people find you and ask you to bring a show in?
We send out packages, we send out inquiries. We also say we can write a grant. Like we wrote a grant to the Department of Environmental Protection so that we can bring our play Alice in Science Land to your schools. Would you like to sign up on this? So we'll sometimes write our own grants to pay for our performances because the touring is getting harder and harder. People don't have schools and other organizations have less and less money. So the way we found a way to tour is to raise money through grants that then cover my artist fees and our travel fees. So we go and perform. So it goes into our budget as a grant, but it's ultimately goes towards the fees for performance, if that makes sense. We're finding grants to perform.
So you've actually researched places that give grants for specific things like education.
Ginny and I, who writes for
Oh, that's right. It's Ginny. Of course, it's Ginny. What am I
Ginny and I,
thinking?
our grants, we wrote last year foundation grants that did include capital campaign for just programming was like 45,000 for programming and another probably 40,000 for capital. So if I can keep a $50,000 grant foundations going, that'd be great. NEA gives us 10,000 for the Challenge America for art in rural places. We get a $10,000 grant from NEA as well. That's our government. It's a lot of work for sure.
Yeah, I just chills go down my spine when I think about grants.
Yes. Can I,
I
can
think
I,
Ginny may have told you that
yeah.
I won't write them anymore. I won't. If she doesn't do it, it's just not going to happen because I
It's not for
can't do it.
everybody.
I
It's not
can't
for
do it.
everybody. Yeah.
Bob, can I go to Tita's question here where she talks about, I just have to say, this politically, this is a very mixed neighborhood. I'm going to disagree. I know Tannis is more in the Pennsylvania. I don't know. I find it's extremely liberal here. So I'm going to disagree with Tannis. I think that because of Woodstock was here nearby, people are not, all of our people that come are really quite liberal. And yeah, there's farmers and people who are more on the Republican side, but I have to say, I find the community here to be very tolerant, much more tolerant than New York City. New York
Oh,
City people are really, really, really like so strident, you can't even have a conversation. Here we're all having beers and we're talking, we're at the wine bar. We talk about things like people are not hostile, at least a lot of them aren't, except for that crazy guy down on River Road. But
Oh, him.
with the big signs, he's crazy. But I really want to dispel any kind of thoughts that this is like a Republican or Democrat area. It is extremely mixed. People are really into conservation, whether they're Republicans or Democrats. Like they really want the clean air and clean water and the eagles and the the animal, the farms. Everybody wants fresh food. We're all here doing that. We all want art and we all enjoy it. So it's not as polarized as it really isn't. I just want to dispel that. It's
But
really
my
not.
Melissa, I don't
my
know. I
takeaway.
have to say, let
Yeah.
me interrupt, may I?
Yeah.
Come with me tomorrow to Simon's wrestling match. Come with me to his school. You don't go to the Honesdale High School. You don't go to
That's
you don't
true.
see
That's why I said I'm not
you
really
don't
in that
see the people
Pennsylvania.
here in Pennsylvania where my
Yeah.
kid goes to school,
Yeah.
where we buy our farm equipment, where we deal in business with the local food pantries here. It's very different than what's across the river where you drink wine. It's very different. No, it's very different.
We
It's
both live in Pennsylvania,
But can I just
but
say that
we're
my
close to New
takeaway,
York.
my important takeaway from what Tannis had said was not whether it was Republican or Democrat, but that people that had opposing views were open to listening and having a
yeah,
conversation without it becoming a fight. Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah.
everybody's fighting. Everybody's fighting at their Thanksgiving table.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a family in this entire country that isn't battling each other at Thanksgiving. So, and that's really sad. That's really unfortunate. And I hope that someone finds a cure for it. Maybe it's like I said, can you ship the air from your area around the country a little? Maybe the air will help. So,
Water. Actually, New York City water comes from up here.
does it really? Oh, I
Yes,
know.
it does. Comes from our Delaware Basin.
I'm
So
going to upset you very
drink
much,
some of
though.
our water.
I don't drink anything that comes from a tap.
Oh, well, it comes from here. We have
You
the
have great
reservoirs.
water in New York. You have the
That's what
best
I'm told.
water.
New York City has great water. You
You have
just
our
have,
water.
yeah. We have to have big filters on our water because
You have our good
much
water.
silt in our water. Yeah.
Somebody was actually, I had to mute myself because my phone was ringing.
Oh.
In 245 of these shows, there it goes. Can you hear that?
No.
Hold on.
No.
What's he doing?
I'm glad that you don't hear the phone ringing. So I don't know. Nobody ever calls me during this program. This is like the third time out of 245 of these. So anyway, back to you. Enough about my phone. Back to you. Um, so Owen, have we missed any other comments or comments or questions?
Not that
Larry Daggett has a long thing he's talking about. Regarding using equity actors, keep in mind that SAC has the micro-budget project agreement for projects that are budgeted for $20,000 or less. Larry, just about the micro-budget agreement, that's strictly for film performances. Farm Arts Collective is doing live performances. There may be some involvement of Zoom and virtual, but for the most part, we're talking about whether an equity actor can go to beautiful Pennsylvania with fresh air and no arguments, and do a show with this company. And I'm not sure whether they can.
We don't have housing. We don't have like an artist residence here, so it can be difficult.
Oh,
So,
please, you got a theater space now. In 3 years, you're gonna have housing. I know it.
okay. All right.
Great, put it
Fair
out there,
enough.
Bob. That's great.
No,
Thank you.
Bob, let me say, like one of my goals this year and the way I'm structuring our Dream on the Farm is to open up participation, so that people could come for the 2 weeks of the run and be a part of it, with something a little bit more, what would you say, installed into the show, as a whole piece. So I'm going to present that on Thursday because it's a scavenger hunt. So when people go out into the field to do the hunt part of the show, they're going to encounter some kind of installation, some kind of scene, some kind of little mini playlet or an art piece or a science project or something, an activity, whatever. And so there's room for participation this year that I'm trying to inspire in my community and beyond.
How much of a staff do you have besides Jess and Melissa and Ginny? Who
Well,
do
I'm not
do
really
people?
staff, but I'm not
Well,
really
no.
staff, but yeah.
So
But do other people? I mean, who takes some of this off of your plate is my real question, because it just sounds like so much you're doing so much, and I can't imagine how one person can do this. Of
it's
course,
not one
people
person.
can't imagine how I do what I do, but
Yeah. It's not. Jess and I and Ginny, and then our company does a lot of volunteering and does a lot. Everyone's really engaged
somebody's
in
got to be leading it.
events. What's that?
Somebody's got to be leading it.
Tannis is leading
I
it.
am.
Tannis
Yeah.
leads.
Yeah, Tannis is a
Okay.
leader. I'm Tannis and I are part-time staff, which we know that that's really full-time. And then Ginny is our grant coordinator, and she does a lot of front of house and hospitality work here. So it's really three of us that are quote unquote staff, and then everyone else in our company and beyond volunteers. And like I was saying before, a lot of us just wear many hats to make everything go.
Right.
Just
And then
Against,
when we perform out, when we perform Dream, everyone gets artist fees and honorariums, but no one's on salary other than Jess and I.
right.
it's
Right.
just amazing me because just producing the theater part of what you're describing is a full-time job, and you're also running a farm, and you're doing workshops. It's just a lot. So I gotta congratulate you on what you're doing. It's kind of amazing. Um,
Thanks. But it doesn't feel like work at all. It's pure fun. And I mean, sure, we get tired. Yeah, we get stressed. Yeah, blah, blah. But it's actually mostly really, really delightful work that we're doing. We love it. We love our
okay,
work.
it helps to be doing something you love. It does
Well, that
indeed.
would be the only way. I would never do this if I didn't like it.
Oh, I know that you love it. I can tell that you love it. It's just sounds so big.
It is big.
It's
It is. It's
huge.
huge. It's huge. It is
Oh my.
big.
Well, congratulations on that. Oh, and any other comments or questions from the
Not really.
audience?
There's a couple of, are you close to the beer refinery? Is there a
Oh yeah,
ride
actually,
share or Uber for
Yeah, there's a
people?
couple of beer things up here called Roscoe. Isn't there Roscoe beer? And there's in Roscoe, there's a distillery here, Catskills Distillery. So yeah, there's a couple of beer. There's
Big Eddie, I think, in Narrowsburg just opened up that place. Yeah, there's a
yeah,
bunch around
yeah,
here.
there's Livingston Manor, the one Upward Brewery is nearby, which is fabulous. Like lots, yeah, this it's really fun up here. I have to tell you, there's a lot this with the with the distilleries and stuff. We're always drinking.
Okay.
And non-alcoholic ones too.
That's true.
There, yes.
There's a
I
message from Tita Antares says, other than your credibility as a farmer, any other special guidelines for shaping shows for and marketing to a very rural community? Rare these days to find support and funds in a rural area. Yeah, I mean, I think we sort of addressed it with the idea of like this is art for the people by the people. You know,
Right.
that's a big part of what we're doing. And so including people and inviting them to the table and making them feel like they belong here when they come, we know everyone's name.
Mhm.
We always greet people by we learn their names when they come. No one should feel like they don't belong here, whatever their politic. And we really work hard on that inclusivity.
Absolutely. And it's really interesting. People come from Scranton, they come away. Once they've seen one show, they really want to come back. And the farm also plays a very big part. In fact, we have to think of it as a character when we're building our shows. Like, what is the role of the farm? And we really notice that people really respond to the farm and being on it and being like having that as part of the whole thing that we're doing.
what Tita also says in that post is she's basically saying that you're lucky that you're not coming across the woke sensibility or people who are like Ron DeSantis and other people who once you are trying to do something that is culturally uh,
Well, it's mostly because people around here care about what we're talking about. They really do care about ecology. They care about good food. They care about the air. Like I was saying, the eagles, the conservation, the climate change, almost, or they're concerned about farming issues. And Greg and Tannis have a lot of workshops and things on strictly farming issues. And Greg is a very respected farmer in this community. So there's lots of things for everybody to talk about besides all the other things that drive everybody crazy. You know, like we
Melissa.
talk about a lot of things that are not, you know, my husband will go and start talking about the price of milk, and he worked on Wall Street, you know what I mean? So it's like, you know, there's a lot of things to talk about up here. And a lot of issues that we cover in our shows that provide perspective and include other people's, all different kinds of people's perspectives.
Well, speaking of that, I did notice when you originally were talking about what you do, you snuck in almost unnoticeably that you're planning something to do with Juneteenth. So my question to you is, how diverse is your community?
It's very, very white here.
Yeah.
Really extreme, like beyond belief white.
So if you're going to do a Juneteenth series or show about that, it's really an education, because this is something that a lot of people are just not even thinking about.
Oh my goodness. And it sells out. It's one of our biggest
attended
days. It's our biggest days. It's crazy.
True. Everybody sat there for a 3-hour presentation, and we have Janice Adams up here, who is Max Roach's widow. And she's African American. She's beautiful. She's an educator up here. She's on the radio, Catskill up here. She's very well known and respected. We have Oliver King. We have who's performs Frederick Douglass a lot. So I mean, but it is very white, but everybody wants to know about these things. It's part of our cultural history. Juneteenth is important for all of us because it was the end of slavery, which is important. It's important.
Oh, you don't have to, I'm the choir.
Yeah. And everybody wants to understand it really was fascinating how people sat there for 3 hours, and that was like a 2-hour presentation and then an hour of just like talking, comments, questions. It was beautiful. It was packed. Yeah.
And I just want to say it was all of our Black community curating and on the stage.
Right,
like we
right.
didn't, we weren't on there
No.
doing anything, you
Yeah.
know. It was people from the community, African American.
We're not the best face of Juneteenth.
Yeah, like
I
it wasn't
acknowledge
about, you know, so it was just like, take it away.
Yeah.
And I'm very friendly. I'm very a collaborator with Janice Adams. She and I are friends, great friends. And so she sort of takes that.
So you have a situation. You've created an environment where if somebody has an issue that really is troubling them, they could come up to you and say, "What can we do? How can we talk about this particular issue?" I mean, I don't know whether you have a transgender community or a non-binary community, but it seems to me that even there you would be welcoming, and people would be able to maybe get conversations going about that. That's one of the hardest conversations in our culture. People who are very resistant to non-binary and the pronouns that are the appropriate pronouns that we are trying to embrace and use, but it's not easy.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, it is hard. And especially, we are actually working on and devising a play right now called Lucy Joseph, based on a real historical figure that lived in this area back in the 1800s. And she was born a female, and she disguised herself as a man to get work because there wasn't a lot of opportunities for women to make money. So she disguised herself as a man.
How surprising.
Weird, huh?
This country.
And lived her life as a man to get work, and then ended up falling in love with a woman, but ended up dying in an insane asylum because she wore pants, essentially. So we are another resident director of ours, Mimi McGurl, is taking on this project, and she did an insane amount of research. We have a local writer, Bill Klaber, who wrote a fantastic fictional novel with nonfiction in it as well, that she took text from, and then a lot of research from just different newspapers and museums in the area. And she wrote a beautiful script that we did a staged reading this past December, which had really great response. We brought it down to the city for a little excerpt in the International Human Rights Art Festival. And then we're doing a fully staged production.
Wait a second. When were you in the International Human Arts Festival?
Last month in December, and we've
Oh,
been doing it for the
last
past
year
3
I was in it. I had to play in it
We were
last
doing
year.
it we've been in that festival for the last few years, which we've been grateful for as well. So
Oh, so we were in it together last year. I mean, 2023,
It,
yeah, I guess so.
December 8th, I think it was.
Something like that. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
usually for a week down in the city. So we are exploring that topic of, transgender and all of those different things. And, it's interesting, like being older and outside of school and outside of the New York City community for so long that, you know, it's a little bit getting used to about bringing in a younger community that, doesn't have the same, didn't grow up the same way that we did, where now it is different pronouns and like you said, getting used to things and trying to be in that world when we weren't usually trained in that world, I guess. So it's something that we are working on as well to be inclusive that way, for sure.
Do you know what your Native American community was in your area?
Yes, the Lenni Lenape.
We are too.
we have a treaty with them,
The
Tannis.
the unceded
Yes.
lands of.
They come and visit and they come. We have a treaty with them. They're right, Tannis. They come and they do their river where they come down the Delaware River and they always stop and camp on the farm, and we do a performance for them or a rehearsal. Usually we're in rehearsal, so they'll come and watch one of our rehearsals, or we'll do a run through with them. Chief, what is his name?
Gentleman, Chief Gentleman.
He's part of our community, really, because he came and did
He was at our opening of our
land blessing, yeah, on our new property. It's really beautiful because I feel that, we are in touch with that. When you dig around here, you're going to find artifacts. You're going to find Indian artifacts. When people build houses, they're there in the ground, and people collect them. And but we have established that bond with the current Lenape nation here. It's not really a nation here. They're integrated, but they have meetings, and then they welcome us to come, and we've actually performed at another one of their meetings. So we have a relationship with the indigenous native people here. Yeah.
Might be interesting to collaborate them on a devised piece.
They're kind of far, but would be nice. But don't forget, we're kind of far flung.
Okay.
You have to be
But yeah, that's the goal. That's the goal. They want to do a little more here with us. One of the guys in the Lenape Nation has been getting his PhD at Temple, and he said to me recently, he's like, "I want to get more involved." So I said, "Oh yeah, anytime."
Well,
Anytime.
this is amazing and very, very inspiring. I mean, it's a reminder that not everybody in our country really requires commercial Broadway to satisfy their art itch. There's so many other ways of getting a company engaged in important issues through art. So congratulations on doing that. It's impressive. It's very impressive. I want to thank you. I want to thank Tannis Kowalchuk and Jess Beveridge and Melissa Bell for being with me today. I want to thank everybody who attended today, my audience. And I'm going to spotlight myself and do a thing to the YouTube audience. So everybody out there if you're finding us on YouTube, or if you're finding us through podcasts, or however you find us, if you're interested in what we do, and if you'd like to be part of the conversation, feel free to email me at trunltd@aol.com. That's trunltd@aol.com, and we'll invite you every week, whether you like it or not. No, we'll invite you every week if you want us to. And the other thing is, we've been doing this as a community service since 2000. and 20. And we still consider it a community service, and we still welcome everybody for free if you can't pay. But if you can pay, we do have bills. We do have salaries to pay. We have things that we can really use your money for in a healthy and productive way. So if you want to donate to us, or if you want to join as a member, um, well, to donate, you can go to True Donate, trudonate.com. That's trudonate.com. And if you want to become a member, there's a membership link on our website. I don't want to try to give you a long link. So join us next week. Next week, I have a young producer. I think he's young. He's 28. He says he's not young. But I think of 28 as being pretty young, who has a successful off-Broadway show called Celino v. Barnes, which has been running for about six months now. And he was also a recipient of the Hal Prince Fellowship in Theater at the Columbia MFA in Theater program. He's an interesting guy, and we'll be talking to him next week about how a young person gets into a career as a producer. And in the weeks to come, I have all sorts of things planned, and every week we'll be doing this. I don't know how long I can do it, but I'm going to keep doing it as long as I can do it. I love having people come in. I love meeting people like Tannis and Jess, and having a friend like Melissa here. Yeah, you're right, Tannis. We do what we love. And it doesn't always feel like work. Sometimes it does. So that's it, everyone. I hope to see you in the future, and thank you for being part of True. And see you next week, maybe.